Hi guys, welcome back to the new and improved Casting Commons, the show where we talk and discuss all things Pauper. I am your host Teasdale, and this is my co-host, the Grindstone himself, Reese.
Hello.
That wasn't a last-minute addition, honest. Before we start, please do not forget to hit that like and subscribe and follow button so you never miss an upload. It also helps the algorithm and gets exposure. It's a really great way to support us, completely and utterly free. I have nailed that intro. Woo! And we're only the second one in. Let's go. So, Paul, what have you been up to this week?
um, so I'm still basically in a similar place to I was to last week, where I'm still just trying to figure out which deck I want to be putting more time into to play in the Northern Pauper Open, which is obviously coming up next month.
Mm.
I have shortened it down quite a bit now. I'm basically between a Glitters variant or Kuldotha and just go back to Kuldotha. I guess Kuldotha variant because I'm not set on the list. So yeah, still just musing on that. Playing wise, we both played Legacy on Friday for our local F&M, which was a pretty rare treat.
Mm.
And yeah, really good fun. I ended up playing a pretty hard combo version of Shortcake Painter, which is red white painter. Which was really good fun. And I ended up winning basically by going against a load of other combo decks and just out comboing them, or combo decks and you playing D&T. Other than that, I've been playing quite a bit of Lorcana, as my partner's pretty interested in Lorcana now, and helping her organize some local Lorcana events, tournaments. Although not having an actual LGS is a bit of a pain because Ravensburger basically don't support anyone who's not like a bricks and mortar store, which is basically what Wizards are doing now as well, which is quite annoying for clubs.
Yeah, definitely.
What about yourself?
Yeah, apart from obviously playing the Legacy F&M at the weekend, I was on D&T. I had to dust it off. Been a while, to be fair.
It's been a long while.
Yeah, it definitely has. Just sits in this cupboard right below me. Gathering dust. Played Yori in D&T. I updated it a little bit. I think I changed like 4 cards or something. I did 2 Sam. Is it Samwise? Is that what it is?
Yeah, the flash one.
The flash dude that tempts you and you bring a permanent back. And I added a Lauren, the third path, the like Rex Sage. And then I think that's kind of it from
Don't
memory.
forget your weird wrath in the sideboard.
Oh
like,
yes.
Oh, have we got any of this wrath
Yes,
from Lord
yes.
of the Rings?
It was
maybe.
by water or something. It basically kills Delvers and Murktides and stuff and leaves your Thalia alive. Is effectively
and gives you some food.
And gives you some food for anything that's destroyed or something like that. Yeah, honestly, and I don't even mean this is in. I genuinely am not even lying. 90% of the cards from I couldn't even tell you which set. Probably like Ikoria. I probably could not tell you any rare or uncommon onwards from those sets. Like I genuinely, and like Reese will genuinely attest this, I do not look at rares or uncommons or mythics. Like
this is how Dusty D&T was. He basically hasn't played it in that long as well.
Not at all. Like usually I used to, even though I still was mainly Pauper, I would still look at the white uncommons, rares, and mythics to add to the D&T folder of potential playables. But that's just long gone out the window. Like I actually just googled lists, and that's very unlike me from playing D&T too. But it was good fun. I did enjoy it. The thing that miffed me off about D&T or Legacy in general is I've always been in Legacy, I was a one pilot deck almost. I was like full blown on Nick Fit when I first started playing, and then like full blown on D&T, and I just like engulfed into that. And to be honest, the thing that actually put me off playing D&T was the fact that how good it got. Was the fact I know that sounds really stupid, but I used to love the whole D&T mirror, and it'd be like who could outsmart each other with all this stuff, and now it's just like I Skyclave your cheat. And it's like, all right, okay, fair enough. That's boring.
Yeah, you don't have to play weird Mengara tricks
exactly.
to get rid of permanents. You just Skyclave them.
Yeah, now everything's easy. It's just like, well, that's not fun. But Yeah, so anyways, we played that Legacy F&M. That was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. I also did quite a bit of editing and recording because I did not realize I'd been watching all this YouTube videos on how to edit this certain stuff, like using, I think they're called magic masks or all this sort of stuff. And I was like, right, this is going to take me 10 minutes to do this video. Turns out most of those things are all paid, so I didn't have access to those. And then the actual version was like took hours. So, anyways, got that out the way. And also, I was recording with my son as well, so I had to edit out each time he kind of murmured and muttered. So that also took a while. But yeah, so I managed to get the video out for Rose of Blade. That was pretty good because I was doing some testing for it. I was considering it, and after 3 leagues of doing nothing better than a 2-3, it's kind of out there. So I think I'm now in the same place as you, that I have no idea what to play. I've played, I think, 6 leagues, I think, in the past 4 days, and yeah, they're not going well.
Have we at least narrowed it down? No.
Nah,
No.
not at all. I actually have not a clue. So I've tried Orzhov, I've tried Dredge, I've tried Mardu, I've tried Boros Initiative, which was the worst idea ever. I thought that deck was awesome. Since the banning of Swisspear, wow, that deck is bad. Literally, Bolt and Journey just don't line up to anything.
Yeah.
It's like you're sitting here, oh, this has got 4 to, oh, well, this Bolt's great. Or you Journey this, oh, it's alright, my Dawnbringer comes up. It just doesn't line up well at all, from my experience. But, yeah, so that's basically been my day. I've just been trying to figure out what to play. I have no idea. I even tried Jeskai Glitters, as you are aware. And, yeah, I think, to be fair, that one was more variance. Because, as I was telling you, like, I versed a Boros player that had, you know, all 15 cards of his sideboard was in his main deck now, post-board. Random one-offs of, like, Prismatic Strands and Red Elemental Blast just wasn't happening. Was not the day for me, so I've caught up to variance.
Red Elemental Blast against Jeskai Glitters?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, you do have, like, 4 blue cards.
I guess technically I had 8 because I bought it in Dispel for the 4 Galv Blast 4 bolts that he had. I was like, and I expected Cast into the Fire as well. Turned out he had 4 Dust to Dusts as well. So it was just, I was like, fair enough. But I've just chopped it down to variance today and just sacked it up. So currently the winner is Jeskai Glitters. So we might be both taking the same deck, who knows? And that's kind of it, really. Other than that, I don't know where to go. I might visit, I think it was in Mogged that made the black-white glitters list, but with Titan Blade, like week 1.
All right, yeah.
So I might try that, or I might change it slightly to incorporate Thoughtcast.
Thoughtcast is a pretty gas one, to be fair.
So other than that, that's pretty much the idea. That's my only thought. But yeah, other than that, I'm kind of back to the drawing board. Anyways, rant over. That was longer than normal, but woo! Moving on to tournament news, we have the Northern Pauper Open. Just shut this door. We have Northern Pauper Open on the 18th of February, as we've mentioned. Casting comments, of course, we will be there. The event is capped at 64 players. We haven't had a chance to check how many tickets have been sold more than last week, but last week there was 25% of the tickets sold. So
there's more than, on Friday, over a third was sold. So
there you go, over a third was sold. I do remember that we were informed that I think over 30 or 50 players or people had looked at the event since last week's episode. So I'm glad you're checking it out. It will be in the description below. If you are considering going, there is only 64 players, so I would highly recommend getting your tickets now. 2 more events that we will not be attending is the Pauper 2Ks in Binghamton, New York. I feel like I'm pronouncing that right. They are at Dragon Master Games. One is in February the 24th, and the other one is April the 6th. There is a guaranteed $2,000 prize pool to the top 8 and goes to top 16 if they receive 50 or more players. The venue has a size of approximately 100, I believe. So if you would like to go, check the description below for all the event information to get your tickets. Seems like a pretty interesting one. I'd
Yeah,
be,
it'd be, especially if they can get 100, that would be gas.
that'd be pretty mega. So I definitely recommend checking it out. Sounds like an interesting event. I do know Cali is going. If
That's right.
anyone is a big fan of Cali Kai's or Saden Raking, please go, because at least do the fanboying for me, because I know I would.
Get him to sign your familiars.
Yes, do that. Or your Ultratrons. You never
Yeah,
know.
both work.
Um, and finally, the Caston Commons giveaway. In case you missed it, obviously Caston Commons ourselves are doing a giveaway. To enter, all you have to do is go to the post that is in the description and post a picture under the tweet that you are subscribed, either to us on Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere else that you can listen to us. And if you could like and retweet that post to give it more exposure, that would be great. The giveaway does end on this Friday, which is the 12th, I believe. For a chance to win a merch bundle, which will include a t-shirt, a mug, and other goodies inside.
Right.
Yeah, and then the final thing to touch on, which we touched on last week, is Emma Partlow will be joining us this week. So you are lucky to have us twice this week. You people are blessed. What can I say? But more importantly, Emma will be joining us. She's the UK PFP representative, Cube Master, TCG writer and editor. Whatever is going, we will definitely be diving into all of these different things. And I'm excited to have her on, to be fair. Can't really wait.
Should be good.
Yeah, we'll be getting the ins and outs of everything. So please keep your eyes peeled for that episode. And on to the challenges, I guess.
Yeah. So back to normal this week. With Saturday and Sunday. So Saturday the 6th of January was our first challenge, which had 55 players. Daybreak are now putting the actual total player count, which is really handy, as well as posting all the deck lists. First place we had Corgate. Second place was Grixis Affinity. Third was Corgate again. Fourth was Blue Black Fair. Fifth was Blue Red Terror. Sixth was Blue Red Fair. Seventh was Kuldotha with Petals. And eighth was Mono Blue Terror. Then the near misses was a third copy of Colgate and a classic Gardens.
Woo!
Yeah. I guess my first comment on this is it's exceedingly blue. In the top 8 there's what Kuldotha, and then in the top 10 there's Kuldotha, like the Kuldotha and Gardens that aren't blue.
Yep.
It's something like the increase in just blue decks is something we've been seeing like creeping over the past few years, especially after printers like Tolarian Terror and such. But I think since the mono red domination, like with Swiftspear, that sort of distracted from the fact that basically every other good deck was blue.
Yep.
And now Kuldorf has been turned down a little. We are just seeing, a lot of blue.
One thing I noticed as well, first of all, obviously Reds took a hit in obviously since Swiftspear ban, and it's still appearing in challenges to some number. I didn't check how many red decks there were, like, just 4 by the looks of this. Yeah, 4 in today's challenge.
Yeah.
So like obviously that's a lot
Out
lower.
of 55,
number.
which is pretty low.
So that's obviously took a hit to beat challenges. Like in the 5 or 6 leagues I've played recently, like I have versed 1 red deck.
Yeah.
Like it's nowhere in leagues, and it definitely is very blue dominated in leagues and challenges. And this particular challenge here is very, very blue dominated. But the thing that I'm kind of worried about to an extent is it's blue based control and it's blue based mid range. Like blue has a lot, and to an extent, if you depend how you want to class Terra, like mono blue Terra, you could, you know what I mean? It's
Well, I think mono blue Terror especially, I would say, is aggro.
yeah. So it's literally
So it's, got all three
got all three.
archetypes covered.
And it is a worry. Like don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom, but I really do hope it does not stay like this. Like we need some white weenie in here. We need some. I don't even want to say gardens, because to be honest, the thing is that I've noticed it's not even blue dominated. It's very blue. Like the play style's very the same. Like even though I know Terra's physically, I'm gonna self mill to do the same thing, but like Grixis Affinity, Colgate, Fair all play very similar. They're very reactive
Yeah.
with the potential to be proactive.
I think especially this top 8, or guess top 10, is very mid-rangey. Like you've got essentially the Kuldotha, the Mono Blue Terror, and then everything else is essentially just blue mid-range.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, which is very odd. Like there's no glitters to spice it up for a bit of like a more aggressive deck that is also blue, but yeah, it is very, very mid-rangey.
So yeah, which we have obviously seen in like obviously other Eternal formats, like blue does become a staple. And I'm not saying like we're probably getting to that point where the cards are that powerful that might be the case. But I really do hope that at least the play style needs to be different. Like I'm fine, like obviously Legacy has very much blues, got Brainstorm Force with all that sort of stuff. But a lot of decks play very differently. And my worry is that I feel like they're very much it's a blue deck that has it's very much I can be proactive if you are stumbling. Otherwise, I can be reactive and then try and outgrind, and that's sort of like how Pauper is at the moment. Like even Gardens to an extent is not blue, but it's like I will have this proactive game plan of, oh, you're stumbling, here's my Vengeance Hunter.
Yeah. I think it sort of goes back to something Weber mentioned as well, when we had him on, where it's not like this mid-rangey, everything being blue mid-rangey problem is not something that could be solved by the PFP or by bans. It's very much Wizards need to print cards that go in like mono green aggro and black white mid-range and stuff like that to get those to the same level.
Yeah.
Obviously at the moment we're just seeing cards like Lorien Revealed and such that just make blue or blue X decks better than everything else. So yeah, it's something that the format will have to solve on its own, either by players finding ways to beat the blue decks or by WotC introducing more powerful non-blue cards that don't directly just fit in a blue shell.
Yeah, I think obviously it's don't worry, it's very early days of post Swift Spear ban, but if this like a lot of these decks they're not new, they're not like out of nowhere. I do hope that something else adapts and comes in, but I really do. It is a worrying sign that obviously Colgate's still there. You know, you've obviously still got Grixis Affinity can make a return now. You've obviously got all these Terra variations, and it is just very blue.
Yeah. I think obviously all this was just there when Swift Spear Kuldotha was the best deck. It was just that deck was keeping them in check.
Yeah.
Whereas now that deck's now powered down to the fact where they can now just easily compete with it without having to have too many sideboard cards. And you see just like Colgate is probably the best deck at the moment in Pauper, if not tied for.
Yeah, I'd definitely say so.
So yeah, it's something that I imagine will continue for a while. But yeah, we'll see.
It's quite amusing to me as well. Like one thing, like for example, Grixis Infinity's sideboard that came second has literally 4 Bebs. That's it. As effectively like I hate red that stands out, and then you've got the bargains kind of that'll kind of fix itself because you know it's not as ridiculous as it used to be. It's just quite amusing that obviously it's quite easy for them to keep red in check almost.
Yeah, I guess it's one of them things where it's maybe not even it's like a hangover. Like there's 4 mono red decks in 55 players. Do you need to be playing 5 red blast?
Yeah.
Obviously can come in handy against like blue red terror and blue red fear. Now sort of seeing a bit of play. But yeah, it's is that still necessary? Could you be playing something else? Especially like mono blue terror is still playing like 7 red blast.
Yeah, that's super odd to be fair. But definitely a strange one. I do hope obviously it doesn't continue, but it is. It's fine to see like obviously blue red fear like a deck that we haven't seen for a while, but ultimately it is basically just a variation of fear. Like I don't think it looks particularly out there.
Yeah,
From
it's not even a new deck. It's obviously something we'd seen before, and it's just obviously rotated back in. There's obviously more space now for mid-rangey control decks that Swift Spear is not just pressuring them instantly.
Yeah, I think ultimately though as well, like this blue red deck, it's obviously the blue black deck like Bako and all that worked on. Obviously changed the blue black list quite a fair bit. Like
Yeah,
obviously it was the least fair deck I'd seen in a long time, and it's kind of took that shell and kind of worked with it and just made it blue red effectively.
yeah.
So it's nothing new, it's nothing exciting, like. But other than that, we've kind of not really got anything exciting. Like I didn't see anything standing out to me, to be fair, in the entire challenge, really.
Yeah, so I have one list that if you want to quickly look at,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can. Which is a 35th place list, so pretty low down. Um, but I thought it was quite interesting. It's basically like a black green
Mm.
sacrifice aggro deck.
Mhm.
Um, with stuff like for like the mono green shell, like the Beowgroth
Yeah,
and Brindle Short, but then like combining it with like Bone Pickers and Carrion Feeders,
yeah.
Shamble and Gas getting in there along with the Cycle and the Troll, and the End.
Mhm.
And obviously Young Wolf as well is a good one to sack, and then Village Rites is like a bit of a draw engine. Obviously not uber powerful to compete with all this blue mid range, but I just thought it was quite an interesting, sort of a bit more old school Pauper style deck.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. I do like this green black sort of sacrifice deck or the mono black sacrifice deck as well. Both are pretty sweet. I also do like flashbag unearth kind of
Yeah,
shenanigans as well. It's pretty cool. Carrying feed is always going to be a strong card, really, even though it doesn't see that the light that it deserves. To be fair, but it's definitely a
yeah,
sweet
it's
deck.
sort of one of those cards that again just doesn't have the cards printed to support it. Like it's obviously a really powerful card,
Mm.
but there's just nothing really there, like Linger and Souls type thing. I don't know if you remember that black white or Mardu, was it Souls Goblin Bombardment deck that was in Legacy a while ago?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Was it called Zombardment or something like
yeah,
that? Um,
yeah.
yeah, we've obviously got a powerful tool, but just nothing to really go
Mm.
with it that would make it compete on a high level.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but yeah, cool one to see. Obviously, pretty old school Pauper. Um, some Rancors getting in there as well, and then sideboard wise, it's fairly as you'd expect with some
Mm.
Deglammers, some Fairy Macabres. I guess now Dredge is the thing. You've got to have a bit of graveyard hit,
Mm.
and unexpected ranks for some life gain.
Pretty solid one.
Have you got out else on this top eight, or do you want to move on to
No, I'm happy
Sundays?
to move on to Sunday.
So Sunday was the 7th. First place we've got Grixis Affinity. Second place was Mono Blue Terror. Third place was Blue Red Terror. Fourth place was Blue Black Terror. Fifth place was Jeskai Glitters. Sixth place was Classic Gardens. Seventh was Mono Blue Terror. And eighth was Blue Red Terror. And the two near misses were Corgates and Fams. Um, so an even more blue top eight, even more blue top 10. Sorry, with one
One
less
less.
blue deck.
Yeah.
With Gardens sneaking in sixth to make the top eight not quite all blue.
Go
Um,
Gardens saving the day.
yeah, yeah. Obviously, very very similar to Saturdays, but just with more terror and less
Mm.
fear, essentially. Um, but yeah, nice to see um the Jeskai Glitters getting there, which I believe was Walker.
Yeah, yeah.
I've seen he's posted a few lists now on Twitter, and been testing the deck quite a lot. So it's nice to see him getting a
Mm.
top eight. And I believe the how many players? It was 74 players in this challenge. So a really big challenge. Considering don't they only pay out to the top 32 as well?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that might need re unupdated Daybreak, because I think they updated it to be bigger to 64, and then over Christmas, because the two Christmas challenges were small, they downgraded it back to 32.
Mm. Yeah. I think. I think someone mentioned that. I don't know the ins and outs of like the numbers for challenges, but I think that they usually up them for some reason and lower them at the start of the year. But I don't really understand why they would do that. Why don't they just have like a set number? This is what the fire on. This is the cap.
Yeah.
Blows my mind. But I'm not really a grinder as such, so I would never really understand the ins and outs of challenges.
Yeah, I think obviously if we get bigger challenges like this, it just makes sense to make them pay out better. But yeah, I guess other comments. There was more Kuldotha in this challenge. Obviously, it's a bigger challenge, but there was 8 Kuldotha decks,
Yeah.
not in the top 8. But yeah, a lot of blue.
Yeah, there was. Is it literally one in the top 16?
Yeah,
Squeezed in 16th place, is that?
one was 69th though, which is cool.
Wait, nice. For my comments, like obviously, congrats to Weber for winning it with Grixis Affinity, which is pretty sweet. Other than that, it is a very, very blue top 8. Very similar what we've seen on Saturday, obviously, but the Grixis Affinity came first instead of second. There is a small lack of Colgate for whatever reason. Guess
no Colgate, no fair.
Europeans don't like Colgate; they prefer Terra, I guess.
Got a lot of Terra.
Blue Red Terra obviously made a comeback in, was it third place, fourth,
third, yeah,
third place, yeah. Pretty straightforward as well. Interesting spice, like Is It Charm, I guess, is a card that I haven't seen for a long time. But
yeah, I did play against a Blue Red Terror in a league playing Is It Charm. It's always been one that sort of looks like it does a lot, but then when you cast it, always feels a bit mid.
yeah.
But if obviously the Luton's fuel and terror, so you get a bit of a bonus there.
Yeah, I've always been. I think I'm the same page. Like I genuinely look at it as a champ. Like this card is awesome. Like every mode is actually good. Like it's not bad. But then whenever you cast it, regardless on the format, like it's always been like, what is this card?
I think the problem is every mode just costs 1 mana, and you have to pay 2 mana for it. Like you don't want to pay 2 mana for any of those modes.
Two separate colors as well. Like not just 2 mana. Like it's two separate. Like I know you've got Lorien and stuff, but Jesus. Other than that, I guess the other thing that mentioned is obviously, as we touched on, is the Jeskai Glitters. Walker coming 4th, was it? 5th? 5th. It is a sweet list. I've currently played 2 leagues with this. Pretty cool. I really do like the whole Reckless Impulse, and I also do like the Ardent Recruit.
Yeah, that's a big one. I did like that when because he started with it in the sideboard, I believe.
Yeah.
And then just found out that a 1 mana 3/3 is actually just pretty legit.
I think it just deals with a lot.
Yeah.
Is the big thing like right now? It just a lot of stuff is X2 or 2X, like Core Skyfishers. You've got, just all sorts of just good stuff like Augur Bolus, Dawnbringer Cleric. It just gets over a lot. It's a pretty sweet one. I was pretty impressed.
We're getting closer and closer to Carapace Forger being playable again, and I'm hyped for that.
I
just need a reason to play green in the Glitters deck.
That's the problem. You just need a reason to play green.
2 mana 4/4.
Yeah. Unfortunately, other than that, I've got nothing else really to add. I guess I might want to try Grixis Affinity as my deck to play for the Northern Pauper Open.
That's a pretty bold choice after never playing Grixis Affinity before.
I've played Grixis Affinity before. I played it twice, recorded with it twice, and I went 4-1 and 5-0. So there you go.
That's a pretty good record, to be fair.
So it wasn't the same as it is now. It was a lot easier.
Yeah. You just air-togged people.
I don't know if I played. Did I play before Airtog, but after this? No, after Airtog ban, but before Disciple ban or something like that.
Right, okay.
I think something along them lines. I can't really remember, but it was very much everywhere, and I was like, I want to see what this deck's all cracked up to be. But I also do like Somber Hoverguard. Gas. That's what I want to play. Other than that, I've got nothing else really to add. It's fairly stock. I'm surprised there's 2 blue-red terrors as opposed to being the terror deck. Like, there's 2 blue-red, which has kind of been almost non-existent. And it's like, here's 2.
Yeah, I think for me, obviously, the having that many players is really good to see. The Pauper challenges are obviously like firing really well. There's been a distinct lack of like non like affinity glitters decks, so like Bogles and heroic and stuff like that. I don't know if that's just caused by just the sheer amount of just mid range that's just removal piles. I imagine it probably has quite a bit to do with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you do scroll through the challenge, there is a lot of variance. It's just not making the top 8. Like there's a lot of walls combo, walls cascade, elves, and things like that. But they're just they're not getting through the walls and walls of blue mid range, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think the thing is, a lot of people. I think the problem with red, which was why obviously it got ultimately took down a peg, is people don't like to not take game actions. Even though, to me, personally, this is also miserable as hell to play against, all this mid-range pile, and that's come from a Gardens and D&T player. Like, as much as you get to take actions, like, your game can last 15, 20 minutes or whatever, and that's fine. You've fought it out, you've battled it out real hard. So, and I think that's why a lot of people do like to, like, obviously we've got quite a big challenge, is basically people like this sort of meta. Yeah.
I always thought that was a weird take. Like at the time when people were asking for Swift Spear to be banned, they were like, "Oh, it's not fun to play against." And I'm like, but you just want to sit there and play against Gardens where they just kill all of your creatures and then hit you to death with a 2/2 or a 1/3. Like that is miles less fun to me. I'd rather just lose in 5 minutes and then go and play another game than have to play 25 minutes and then lose when they've got 2 minutes left on the clock.
Which is fair. Like, I just think
it's just a very odd argument that people are like, "Oh, Swift Spear is not fun." Well, a lot of this isn't fun either.
Yeah, I do agree. I think both sides aren't fun, but they're both not fun in different ways.
Yeah.
It's like to the point where this is why I often felt like Swift Spear was not the problem. Like, I do think red needed taken down a peg, because I do think there was problems with it. But that's why when I posted my ban video, I was like, Swift Spear is not the problem. Because if you ban Swift Spear, it's still got all this. And then B, you've still got all this stuff sat here in the wayside. Like, Terror was one of the things that stood out to me. And there's obviously, you've got some sort of core gate, an initiative. Like,
yeah, I guess it's more interesting when you look at it as a Kuldotha is still very much a deck, but Kiln Fiend and Pinger Burn are basically both just dead with the Swift Spear ban.
Yeah.
So could it have been more pointed at Kuldotha, and then you still have a bit more variety, with those decks still being like legitimate options?
Like, to me, because then what that alleviates to me is if you ban Kuldotha is the I kill you really quickly draws with Swift Spear only end up going if they have triple Swift Spear or double Swift Spear, which to be honest, if you put
it dies to a removal spell, like
but to me, what I'm saying is that kind of like ultimately is the same for any deck. Like Mono Blue Terror can go mill cards. Here's triple terror. Okay, you died to triple terror.
Yeah.
Same with glitters. You die to double glitters. Like, do you know what I mean? These are real things where the decks are still strong, but then the really high nut draws are really strong, which is fine. And I'm happy to sit in that sort of open field, but it's taking down a peg. But the fact that red could go wide, go tall, and outdraw the opponents, I understand that's an issue, but you can't just. To me, this is just, to me, I don't want to sound doom and gloom, even though I've said that already. This is gonna get worse. I am telling you, it's gonna be nothing but blue decks, core gate, and terror. This is why when I said the first waves of bans in my video, it should have been something out of red, not Swift Spear, but Kuldotha or the draw engines. and terror.
Mm.
That's a lot of
Yeah,
terror.
I guess the problem, like, I agree with it in principle. I don't agree with the draw engine thing because, like, you look at some of these cold orthodox that don't even bother playing any,
I
and it's like
agree, but
it basically makes no it kneecaps ping a burn.
I do agree now that Swift Spear is banned.
Yeah,
But obviously, in a principle, I'm talking Swift Spear
yeah.
is not
If you still
banned.
had Swift Spear, yeah,
Like
that makes sense, I suppose.
is more where I'm coming from. Like you don't. I think the
But I
problem
guess would you not just play this like these cold author lists and then just put Swift Spear in them and just still not play the draw twos?
potentially I 100% agree with you to an extent, like, but I don't know how broken and warped that is. Like at
Mm.
least if you answer the first wave of creatures, you're not drawing out of it. Like
Yeah,
and that was
yeah,
to
that's
me
fair.
that was the problem. Like you go Swift Spear, you probably bend over backwards to try and kill it really quickly, like skew your mana or whatever, and then they just carry on drawing because they're a mono red deck. They're not playing tap lands like you are to try and keep up.
Yeah, but I think yeah, ultimately you probably are right that um there is well yeah I don't know it's a weird one because I don't think there's that much you can do to stop the like blue mid range bars. Like you
Mm,
could kneecap Terra like by just banning Terra
mm.
and you sort of get rid of a load of Terra decks, but then do a lot of like Fae and Corgate, just not replace that, like fill that vacuum.
Probably.
Um,
Again, most likely. But again, I think the issue to me, you either my thing is you either I don't know why we're going on a tangent here on this, but ultimately you either address the format as not being broken and just let it live as it is.
mm,
But to me, the fact that they've took action shows that they think there's potentially an unfun problem. Like it's diverse but unfun. So they want to fix
yeah,
it, but they want to take it slowly by banning one card at a time and seeing how it
yeah,
affects the metagame. But now they've kind of took that plaster off the format. To me, it's kind of like you've got all these other plasters and stuff going on underneath. Like
mm,
you've got two multiplayer mechanics that probably shouldn't be in the game. Like at all, initiative should not be there. You've got
I think just to add on to that multiplayer thing, it's bad when Monarch looks bad
yeah,
because the initiative's so good. Like you would rather just play initiative card than the Monarch card, and it makes the Monarch card look really bad.
yeah.
And Monarch's like really busted.
But like it shows the state of the format though when almost the Monarchs kind of made a resurgence in this top eight because you've got obviously both blue red are basically blue red Monarch. You've got the Crimson Fleet, the Azure Fleet Commodore, and then Murmuring Mystic now fucking I'm gonna try and fix the format this way.
It's because they can't play the initiative cards because the only initiative cards
Yeah.
left are in the two worst
Yeah.
colours.
It's just
I imagine if they could play like sneak and stuff like and
oh
bad, they would just they would be
100%.
dominant with those.
Um but yeah, it's
But
just that
yeah, I sort of get your point. I think they are involved and want to make the format as good as it can be.
mm,
And the Swiss Spear ban is like a step towards that.
mm,
I think if they hadn't banned anything, I would still be on the probably not going to ban anything.
mm.
But yeah, given they've already made that choice once, um, I can see it happening again. Maybe not, probably not soon. But the only card, in my opinion, that would be ban worthy is Tolarian Terror.
Or Lorien is probably my closest to.
Yeah, but
I am on the side of Terra personally. I do agree
yeah,
with you, but Lorien's fucking everywhere.
it is, but it's not. It
It doesn't.
it's
It
not.
feels yeah,
It's not four ofs
yeah,
everywhere. It's
yeah.
like two
I
ofs
agree.
and one
Yeah,
ofs and stuff
that
like
that
that.
that's also the thing. It's as much as it's a good card, it's not broken. It's like banning
Yeah,
brainstorm in Legacy is how I see it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like a good card, but it's not backbreaking. But it's also everywhere. It's kind of like they addressed potentially banning like Great Furnace before Swift Spear was banned because it's in this and that and all that sort of stuff.
Oh,
Like
great fairness.
it's kind of like that. It kind of you know kicks them in the shin, but it doesn't actually knock them
Yeah,
down. Yeah, I do hope it changes, and I hope that the format can fix itself. But this is a lot of blue. To me, it's either
yeah.
you're playing Thoughtcast or you're playing Lorien, and there's your
Mm,
kind of camps. There's your pillars right now. To me, is you're basically either playing a Thoughtcast deck or you're playing a Lorien Reveal deck. And that's kind of it. Potentially pushing, you're playing a Deadly Dispute deck or something like that, like your Gardens or your red deck. Like,
Yeah, I do agree. I see it as basically Colgate Terra variant and Glitters, like Affinity Glitters variant, as being the top three decks by a pretty wide margin, to be fair.
Yeah, 100%. And I do hope it fixes itself. I honestly do. And I do think there is a chance that the format fixes itself in terms of the players and people adapting. But,
I think ultimately it keeps going back to what Weber said, where we essentially just need WotC to print more Pauper focused cards for non-blue decks.
What we need is Gavin.
Which is given that they don't really test for Pauper. We're just sort of having stabs in the dark, essentially, like hoping that they'll design something right and it'll be a common and it'll work.
They're throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah.
Literally.
In terms of Pauper, yeah, definitely.
But this I feel like
we're continuing on the tangent.
I feel like because I've literally come off the back of like 5 leagues or 6 leagues in 3 days and my head's absolutely battered with it. This playstyle's not fun. It's just not for me. And I thought I liked this playstyle, but when I'm against it constantly, like every match is a mirror match, even though you're different colours.
You're going to have to start looking at them rares again and become a legacy D&T player again.
Jesus. But I'm going to have to try and find something. I don't know what it is. I need to find something that I like. Even if I'm dying, I'm like, this is fun.
Cold Author.
But yeah, like, don't get me wrong. Nice to see some different decks, like obviously Blue Red Fair, Blue Red Terror coming in. We've obviously got Gardens, we've got Cold Author coming back, but somebody fix it. Baker, right? You fixed it last time with Blue Black Fair. Fix it again. This is my call out. Would you like to mention anything else? Because
no.
Shout outs. So shout outs to Walker and Weber, obviously, for the top 8 and the win on Sunday. And finally is shout out to the Pauper Grinders for doing so well in the, I am going to try and pronounce this, the Anil Yahi. Did a MTGO of the year, took all the challenges and qualifiers and all the data and stuff, and a lot of the Pauper players, who also dabble in other formats, did really well. But people like Bako and GN, obviously solely play Pauper, did incredibly well as well. I believe, I could be looking at the wrong data, but basically Bako came like 5th, even though he only played Pauper, and everyone above played other Eternal formats. That is mental. And I seen 2 things which I would like to shout out as well, both GN related, because they're also quite amusing. One was GN re-quoted this tweet and basically said, if I am in this table next year for my mental health, something needs to happen, because he's basically been grinding non-stop and his mental health is honestly on one clearly to get to the top 10 or something it was. Like, first of all, that's incredible, but if you need to take a break, please take a break.
Yeah.
Second one was on Reddit. Someone was basically saying they're very good at, like, they play Pauper a lot, but they don't understand Magic Online. Please help. How do I get into the format? GN commented, basically saying, put $150 into it, buy a deck, go infinite. That was it. That was his advice. I was like, solid advice, but not every single person can just be GN and 5 everything. He was like, oh yeah, I did it first time. Good for you, GN.
Did you not?
No, I didn't. To be fair, actually, the first deck I did buy was Standard Jund. And I did I came second in a finals of a qualifier. That, to be fair. But I kind of, at that point, was it basically reprints counted towards you could put them in your deck, but you couldn't get access to cards in pre-releases on the Friday when it was on a Saturday or something like that. So, like,
yeah,
Ravnica got reprint, or so basically Terminate or some sort of reprint got added to the mana base, and Farseek and Stomping Ground. That was it.
To standard, yeah.
Standard, but it wasn't. So Stomping Ground was legal and Terminate was legal.
But the set wasn't out.
So basically, every single other person didn't have Stomping Ground and didn't have Terminate in the. And then, yeah. And then I lost in the finals because I F6 through my turn 1. It was 4 o'clock in the morning, leave me alone. That was my first ever Magic Online event. But
for context for everyone, this is like Innistrad Dark
yes,
Ascension
like
times.
Huntmaster of the Fells, Olivia Voldar, and Jund. Peak Jund. Peak standard as well. I think that was the last time I looked at a rare and a mythic, to be honest. But yeah, shout out to all you grinders. Shout out to GN for obviously that baller comment. Because I did actually respond to the comment on Reddit saying casual GN, just win everything. Yeah, that's it. That's my tangents.
Hot takes from last week.
Yeah, this will be fun.
My first one, which is definitely not come true, was the Dredge Rule top 8. There was no Dredge top 8. There was also almost no Dredge at all. I think there was 3 in the 55 player challenge and like 2 in the 70 odd player challenge.
There was 3 and 2. I just can't remember which way around it was.
So yeah, basically no one thinks Dredge is real, other than me.
I think it's real. My hot take from last week doesn't say that, but based on obviously, my next one was basically Dredge won't have any pilots in next week's challenge. Again, there was 3 and 2, which is why we know the numbers because we were checking this. Yeah, I
think yours is closer.
It's not blue, so that's its problem. First of all, and 2, people are very much skeptical. It is strong. I played it once against the league today, and it was. I had double relic, and they still could. Basically, they responded to an ancient. I tapped my relic, and they responded with an ancient grudge, and then I exiled the one that they targeted, but then they didn't blow up the other one in response. So basically, left me with a relic in, and I probably at that point, if they actually killed it, there was a window where I could have died, like through double relic.
Yeah, Grudge is a real sideboard card, definitely.
And Rotted Reunion as well was pretty clutch. But yeah, it was definitely a strong deck. People need to stop being skeptical on it. Medvedev's king. He knows what he's talking about.
My second one is sort of true, but in different ways. That basically sideboards will eventually be forced to change. I'd put because of Glitters and Dredge. It's more because of just lack of Kuldotha and absolute loads of blue. I would say at this point.
Yeah.
We're already seeing like blasts are going down slowly, but they are going down. Given there was 4 Kuldotha decks and 8 Kuldotha decks in 130 decks, so what's that? 12 out of say 120. You probably shouldn't be playing like 7 blue blasts.
My next one was that basically Jeskai Glitters will replace Azorius Glitters as the kind of Glitters deck. Hard one to track. We obviously did get a top 8 again of Jeskai Glitters.
I didn't actually look to see if there was any blue-white glitters, but
yeah, there is glitters. There is like blue-white glitters, but it is hard to track basically how many. There is a mix of each still.
Yeah,
I still do think it favors.
I think the thing you'll gain from the blue-white is that people just enjoy a more explosive, more powerful deck. The Jeskai one obviously can just go longer and grind a lot harder and has like the removal and the flexibility. But the blue-white one's just so fast if you just draw well.
I must admit, to be fair, I've versed 3, I think. 3 blue-white, no, 3 glitters decks, 2 blue-white, 1 Jeskai in playing Jeskai Glitters. And that, it must not get that fast start very, very often. It really must not. Or
people just need to get better at drawing cards.
Or it literally had, like, one of them was like Island Plains. And it's like, you must not have enough artifact lands to go around because you are struggling. But yeah, I do think Jeskai Glitters is probably the better deck right now. I don't necessarily Walker's list is the set list for Jeskai Glitters, but having access to Experimental Synth and Galv Blast as a core is a lot stronger. It lets you at least attempt to compete with all of these blue mid-rangey piles. And
Yeah.
Glitnock as well. Glitnock as well is pretty good against like things like Terra. Yeah. Would you like to do hot takes for next week?
Yeah. My first hot take for next week is that not really a hot take, more of a hopeful take.
We pray.
Hopefully there'll be less blue decks in the top 8.
I agree.
There was obviously absolutely loads. What was it? In the top 10, was it 8 on Saturday and 9 on Sunday?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, hopefully we get less than that.
But again, I'm gonna double down. I'm going the other way. I'm sorry. So I think, not to be doom and gloom, full blue top 10 next week in one of the challenges.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think you're more likely to be correct here.
So yeah, that's my thought. Unfortunately, I guess we see who wins next week.
Yeah, I'm put my money on yours. My second one was that Walker will get another top 8 with Jeskai Glitters, assuming he actually plays in the challenges.
This is where we check and he's away or something. He's on holiday.
Yeah, I think he's obviously just on one at the moment with that deck, and tuning it to within an inch of its life. So yeah, I'll expect him to be doing well if he is playing.
I think he's definitely on one with Jeskai Glitters. He's doing really well. He's definitely got a knack for, once he picks up a deck that he wants to work on, like he's definitely got a knack for like he takes that much data that he just can tell you what's the bad card, what's the good card, swap it out, and eventually just get this. Like he did the same with Sticker Red. He's done the same with Kuldotha. He's now doing it with Jeskai Glitters. He's just constantly just gonna break the format constantly. Here you go. This is the best version of this deck. Go. Definitely a knack. My last one is that Grixis Affinity will have 2+ copies in one of the top 8. So I do think with obviously a second place and also a first place, Grixis Affinity might actually be fully back. That to the point where people might actually start respecting it a bit.
It does seem very good at the moment.
I think I've played it against it 4 times in 6 leagues. From playing it, and I do think one, it's adapted very well to Cast into Fire and Dust to Dust. Like the whole Dust to Dust, bring it back ephemerate crap like that FAMs and all these other blue-white decks used to have, and now Boros Initiative has, doesn't work. Like they've adapted very well to that. And secondly, the moving forward strategy of it's alright, just exile the threats, kind of nullifies Blood Fountain, doesn't work because now most of the threats are Somber Hoverguard and Gearseeker Serpent that you basically hit some Mirren Forces. The deck's adapted to the hate very well and and I do think it probably is time to get the respect it deserves, for sure. So yeah, that's it. Anything else?
No, that's it from me.
Rants over! So guys, if you have enjoyed listening to this podcast, episode, please do not forget to share it with your friends, your family, your local Pauper community. It has been great to have you listen to us. As always, again, do not forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you do not miss an upload. That is all from us at Casting Comments. Until next time, stay hydrated.
Bye.